They arrested a black woman in the mall in front of her daughter, but something shocking happened that turned the situation on its head. It started as a simple day out for Lydia and her daughter, Jasmine. They intended to enjoy their time together shopping and having lunch, but it turned into a day they would never forget. Lydia woke up early that morning with a smile on her face. She glanced at the clock beside her bed, noting she had plenty of time to prepare a special surprise for Jasmine. Chicago was just waking up, and the city seemed to promise a day full of possibilities. She tiptoed downstairs, careful not to wake Jasmine, and began preparing a special breakfast of pancakes with maple syrup, scrambled eggs, and bacon, Jasmine's favorites. Jasmine woke up to the delicious smell coming from the kitchen. She stretched and ran downstairs, her energy filling the house. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," Lydia said, opening her arms for a hug. Jasmine ran into her mother's embrace, laughing. "Thanks, Mom. Today is going to be amazing, isn't it?" "It's going to be the best day ever," Lydia replied, starting with a special breakfast for her special girl. As they ate, Lydia revealed the plans for the day. "So, Jasmine, what would you like to do today?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "Can we go to the mall? I want to check out the toys and maybe finally get that new book I've been asking for," Jasmine exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement. Lydia laughed. "Of course, we'll do that. We'll go to the mall, have lunch there, and then you can pick out your present." They got ready quickly, and soon they were off. The sun was shining brightly, promising a perfect day. On the way to the mall, Jasmine couldn't stop talking about all the books she wanted to read and how she would spend hours exploring new stories. Lydia felt happy to be able to provide this joy for her daughter. "You know, Jasmine, when I was your age, my mom took me to buy my first favorite book," Lydia said nostalgically. "It was one of the best days of my life." "Really, Mom? What did you read?" Jasmine asked, impressed. "Oh, a lot of classic stories. It was a different time, but the fun was the same," Lydia replied, smiling. When Lydia and Jasmine arrived at the large shopping center, they were greeted by the cool air conditioning and the buzz of busy stores. Jasmine looked around with wide eyes, absorbing the excitement. "Mom, look at that toy store," Jasmine exclaimed, pointing to a large, colorful storefront. "Let's go take a look," Lydia said, happy to see her daughter's enthusiasm. They headed to the toy store, where Jasmine quickly began exploring every section. She picked up different toys, evaluating each one carefully. Lydia watched closely, enchanted by Jasmine's simple, pure joy. "What do you think of this one, Mom?" Jasmine asked, holding up a huge plush unicorn. "I think it would be great in your collection, but remember, we still need to check out the books," Lydia replied, winking at her daughter. "Oh, that's right. I can't forget about that," Jasmine said, putting the unicorn back with a mischievous smile. After spending a good amount of time in the toy store, they moved on to other shops, exploring new things and having fun with their discoveries. Time flew by, and soon they both started to feel hungry. "How about we have lunch now?" Lydia suggested. "Yes, I'm starving," Jasmine replied, holding her mother's hand as they headed to the restaurant they had planned. They found a table with a view of the mall's beautiful fountain. Jasmine sat down with a contented sigh, watching the bustling mall through the window. Lydia picked up the menu and began to browse. "What do you think about starting with an order of onion rings, Jasmine?" Lydia asked, already knowing the answer. "Yes, I love onion rings," Jasmine replied enthusiastically. A waitress approached their table. "Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'll be your waitress today. Have you decided what you'd like to order?" she asked with a smile. "We'll start with an order of onion rings. I'll have the grilled chicken sandwich, and Jasmine will have a burger with fries," Lydia said. "Great choices. I'll bring the onion rings out in just a moment," Sarah said, noting their order and heading back to the kitchen. While they waited for their food, Lydia and Jasmine talked about the most fun moments of the day so far. "What's been your favorite store so far, Jasmine?" Lydia asked. "I think the toy store was the best. Those unicorns were awesome, but I can't wait to see the books," Jasmine replied, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I'm sure you'll find something you'll love," Lydia said, smiling. "Today is your day, so we're going to make sure it's special." Shortly after, Sarah returned with the onion rings. "Here are your onion rings." Your main dishes will be out shortly, she said, placing the appetizer on the table. Thanks, Lydia and Jasmine said almost in unison as they devoured the onion rings. Their conversation continued animatedly. Jasmine told her mom about the books she wanted to read and how she would share her favorite stories with her friends. Dad, I'm going to be the best reader ever, Jasmine said confidently. I have no doubt about that, sweetheart. With your dedication, you can be whatever you want, Lydia replied proudly. Sarah returned with the main courses, placing them on the table carefully. Here's the burger with fries for the birthday girl and the grilled chicken sandwich for you, ma'am. Enjoy, she said. Thank you, Sarah, Lydia said. They began eating, savoring every bite. The food was delicious, and the pleasant atmosphere made the lunch even more special. This burger is amazing, Mom, Jasmine said, her mouth full of fries. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Jasmine. Today is a day to remember, Lydia replied, satisfied. After finishing their meal, Lydia asked for the check and paid, leaving a generous tip for Sarah for the excellent service. They got up, ready to continue the celebration. Ready to pick out your present now? Lydia asked as they left the restaurant. Yes, let's go, Jasmine replied, jumping with joy. As they were leaving the restaurant, Lydia and Jasmine decided to explore more of the mall's attractions. The place was packed with options: bumper cars, arcade games, and even a small Ferris wheel. Jasmine was beaming with excitement, eager to try everything. Where should we start, Mom? Jasmine asked, her eyes gleaming as she looked at all the options. How about starting with the bumper cars? Lydia suggested, pointing to the nearest attraction. Yes, let's go, Jasmine shouted, running ahead of her mother. They bought their tickets and got in line. Jasmine couldn't stop talking about how she was going to drive the car and try to bump into everyone else. Lydia laughed, caught up in her daughter's excitement. When it was their turn, Jasmine chose a blue car and Lydia picked a red one. As soon as the music started and the cars came to life, Jasmine drove with enthusiasm, trying to bump into her mom's car. After enjoying the bumper cars, Lydia and Jasmine walked over to the bookstore, one of the biggest and most popular in the mall. The store was lit up with neon lights, and the interior was filled with shelves stocked with books, games, and accessories. Jasmine was ecstatic, looking around in awe. Wow, Mom, look at all these books, Jasmine exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement. They sure do have a lot. Let's see what we can find for you, Lydia said, smiling. They headed to the children's section, where Jasmine was immediately drawn to the newest book series she had been talking about for weeks. Here it is. This is the one I want, Mom, Jasmine said, pointing to the series with reverence. Let's take a closer look, Lydia said, picking up the book and reading the blurb. It looks like a great birthday present. Jasmine could barely contain her excitement. Are you sure, Mom? Can we get this one? Of course, sweetheart. It's your special day, and you deserve it, Lydia said, smiling as she put the book in the shopping cart. With the book chosen, they moved to the checkout. Lydia paid for the items while Jasmine watched, eager to get home and start reading. Thanks, Mom. This is the best birthday ever, Jasmine said, hugging her mother. I'm glad you're happy, Jasmine. Let's make the most of it, Lydia replied, returning the hug. As they walked toward the store exit, Jasmine could hardly contain her excitement. She kept talking about how she was going to read all the new books and how impressed her friends would be. Are we going straight home now? Jasmine asked eagerly. Sure, but how about we get some ice cream first? Lydia suggested. Great idea. Ice cream to celebrate, Jasmine replied, excited. They headed to the mall's ice cream shop, where Jasmine chose her favorite flavor, chocolate with caramel sauce. Lydia opted for vanilla with chocolate chunks. They sat at a table, savoring their ice cream and enjoying the moment of happiness. Mom, today has truly been the best day ever. Thank you for everything, Jasmine said, looking at her mother with gratitude. You deserve it, sweetheart. I'll always do my best to make you happy, Lydia replied, gently touching Jasmine's shoulder. They were about to leave, when they heard loud mocking laughter behind them. Look at this, a mother and daughter buying books. How cute, said one of the teenagers, a blonde girl about 15 years old, with a disdainful tone. Lydia tried to ignore the comment, but Jasmine looked visibly uncomfortable. They continued walking, but the four teenagers followed them, continuing with their unpleasant remarks. "Hey, kid, do you think you can read better than us?" Another teenager taunted, lightly pushing Jasmine. "Please leave us alone," Lydia said, trying to stay calm. "We don't want any trouble." "Oh, the mommy is defending her little girl. How sweet," mocked a third teenager, laughing. Jasmine was starting to get scared, holding her mother's hand more tightly. Lydia felt her anger rising, but tried to stay calm for her daughter's sake. "Let's go, Jasmine," Lydia said, trying to walk away from the teenagers. But the teenagers weren't willing to let them go that easily. One of the girls, apparently the leader of the group, stepped in front of Lydia and Jasmine, blocking their way. "Hey, we're just having some fun. Why don't you play with us?" she said with a malicious smile. The tension in the air was palpable. Lydia knew she needed to protect Jasmine, but also knew she couldn't let the situation escalate. Unfortunately, the teenagers were not backing down. "Mom, I'm scared," Jasmine whispered, squeezing her mother's hand. "It's okay, sweetheart. We're going to get out of here," Lydia replied, trying to keep her voice calm. But before they could move, the leader of the group pushed Lydia hard. The anger Lydia had been trying to suppress erupted. She shoved the girl back, her voice firm and authoritative. "That's enough. Leave us alone now," Lydia shouted. The situation quickly deteriorated. The teenagers started to surround Lydia and Jasmine, and one of them tried to pull Jasmine away from her mother. That was the last straw for Lydia. In a protective instinct, she pushed the leader of the group harder, knocking her to the ground. "Mom!" Jasmine screamed, terrified. Before Lydia could process what was happening, the father of the assaulted teenager appeared, visibly furious. "What do you think you're doing?" the man shouted, approaching Lydia. "You hit my daughter." "They started it. They were provoking us and threatening my daughter," Lydia responded, still trying to protect Jasmine. "I don't care. I'm calling the police," the man said, pulling out his phone and quickly dialing. Lydia knew the situation was out of control. She looked at Jasmine, who was visibly scared and crying. "It's okay, Jasmine. Everything will be fine," Lydia said, trying to calm her daughter. Within minutes, the police arrived. The officers entered the store quickly, assessing the situation. The father of the assaulted teenager started to tell his version of the story, twisting the facts in his favor. "She attacked my daughter for no reason," the man said, pointing at Lydia. "That's not true. They were provoking us, and I was just defending my daughter," Lydia protested. But the officers seemed more inclined to believe the other man. "We'll sort this out at the station," one of the officers said, approaching Lydia. "Put your hands behind your back." "Mom, no," Jasmine cried out as she watched the officers handcuff Lydia. "It's okay, Jasmine. Stay calm. Everything will be fine," Lydia said, trying to remain calm to avoid scaring her daughter even more. The police took Lydia away, leaving Jasmine under the supervision of one of the store employees. The confusion and injustice of the situation were overwhelming. Jasmine watched helplessly as her mother was taken away, feeling lost and afraid of what might happen next. Lydia was taken to the police station, still trying to process how quickly the situation had escalated. She was placed in a cell, her hands still cuffed, while she waited for further instructions. The feeling of helplessness and injustice consumed her. She could only think of Jasmine, who must be scared and alone. Meanwhile, back at the mall, Jasmine was sitting in a chair in the security office, still in shock over what had happened. One of the mall employees, an older woman named Mrs. Thompson, tried to calm the girl. "It's going to be okay, kid. We'll call your mom or a relative," Mrs. Thompson said in a gentle voice. "I just want my mom back," Jasmine said, her eyes filled with tears. "I understand. We'll get this sorted out as soon as possible," Mrs. Thompson replied, picking up the phone and calling Jasmine's grandmother. At the police station, Lydia was finally taken to an interrogation room, where she met a state-appointed attorney. The attorney, a young woman with a confident demeanor, introduced herself. "Ms. Parker, my name is Emily Clark. I'm here to help," she said, sitting down across from Lydia. "Thank you. I'm worried about my daughter. She's alone at the mall," Lydia said, her voice filled with concern. "I understand. I'll do my best to resolve this quickly. I need you to tell me exactly what happened," Emily requested. Lydia explained everything, from the moment she and Jasmine entered the bookstore to the teenager's provocation and the ensuing confrontation. Emily listened attentively, taking notes. It sounds like a situation of self-defense and protecting your daughter. We'll work on that, Emily said, trying to reassure Lydia. Meanwhile, Jasmine's grandmother, Lisa, arrived at the mall, hurried and visibly worried. She found Jasmine in the security office and ran to hug her as soon as she saw her. "Jasmine, sweetheart, are you okay?" Lisa asked, holding her granddaughter's face in her hands. "Grandma, they took Mom. They said she hit a girl, but the girl started it," Jasmine said, sobbing. "It's going to be okay, Jasmine. I'll sort this out," Lisa said, trying to stay calm while comforting her granddaughter. Lisa went to the police station, taking Jasmine with her, determined to get Lydia out of this unjust situation. Once there, she met with Emily, the attorney, who informed her about what had happened. "Your daughter is being charged with assault, but it seems clear it was self-defense. We'll try to resolve this as quickly as possible," Emily explained. "Thank you. I just want this to be over," Lisa said, holding Jasmine's hand. "I'll talk to the officer in charge right away," Emily said, heading to the officer's office. While they waited, Lisa tried to console Jasmine, assuring her that everything would be okay. Shortly after, Emily returned with good news. "I spoke with the officer. They're going to release Lydia on bail while they investigate the case. We'll be able to take her home soon," Emily said, smiling. Jasmine let out a sigh of relief, hugging her grandmother. "Thank you, Miss Clark," Lisa said, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. Minutes later, Lydia was released, coming out of the cell with a look of relief as she saw Lisa and Jasmine waiting for her. Jasmine ran to hug her mother, holding her tightly. "Mom, I knew you'd come back," Jasmine said, her eyes shining with relief. "It's all right now, sweetheart. Let's go home," Lydia said, hugging Jasmine and Lisa. As they left the police station, Lydia knew there were still challenges ahead, but at that moment, she was with her family. Together, they would face the consequences of the tumultuous day, determined to overcome any obstacle in their way. Back at home, Lydia sat on the couch, exhausted, while Lisa made tea in the kitchen. Jasmine was by her side, holding her hand. "Mom, are they going to take you away again?" Jasmine asked, looking worried. "No, sweetheart. We're together now, and we're going to resolve this," Lydia replied, trying to reassure her daughter. Lisa came into the living room with 3 mugs of tea, handing one to Lydia and another to Jasmine. "We're going to figure out how to prove you were defending yourself," Lisa said, determined. "We won't let this injustice continue." "Thank you, Mom. I'm going to need all the help I can get," Lydia said, taking a sip of tea. The next day, Lydia and Lisa met with Emily, the attorney, to discuss the next steps. They gathered in a small office where Emily had a pile of documents and notes about the case. "We need to gather witnesses who can confirm your version of events," Emily said. "We also need the security camera footage from the bookstore." "We'll get it. What else can we do?" Lisa asked. "We need to talk to the store manager and see if they're willing to cooperate. Additionally, any witnesses who were present could be crucial," Emily explained. Lydia and Lisa went back to the mall to speak with the bookstore manager. The manager, a middle-aged woman named Ms. Reynolds, welcomed them into her office. "Ms. Reynolds, we need your help. There are security cameras in the store that can prove Lydia was only defending herself," Lisa said. "I understand the situation and I want to help. Let's see what we can get from the security cameras," Ms. Reynolds replied, calling the mall security manager. While they waited, Lydia looked around the store, remembering the terrible moment they had experienced there. Finally, the security manager arrived with the camera footage. "Here are the recordings. Let's review them together," the security manager said, playing the video. The footage clearly showed the teenagers provoking Lydia and Jasmine and the escalation that led to the confrontation. It was evident that Lydia was trying to protect her daughter. "This is perfect. We need to take this to the police," Emily said, copying the footage. "Thank you for your help, Ms. Reynolds," Lydia said, feeling somewhat relieved. "You're welcome. I hope this helps resolve the issue," Ms. Reynolds replied. With the footage in hand, Emily met with the police officer in charge, presenting the evidence. The review of the footage clearly demonstrated that Lydia was acting in self-defense. "We'll reevaluate the case based on this new evidence," the officer said. "This changes a lot." The following week, Lydia was called to a hearing. Lisa and Jasmine were by her side, along with Emily. The lawyer for the assaulted teenager's father was also present, but his confidence seemed shaken by the new evidence. During the hearing, Emily presented the security camera footage and called witnesses, including store employees, who confirmed Lydia's version of events. "It's clear that Ms. Parker was only defending her daughter from a threatening situation," Emily argued in her closing statement. The judge, after reviewing the evidence and hearing the testimonies, made his decision. "Based on the evidence presented, it's clear that Ms. Parker acted in self-defense. The assault charges are dropped," the judge said. Lydia let out a sigh of relief, hugging Lisa and Jasmine. The injustice that had almost destroyed their lives was finally resolved. "Thank you, Emily. We couldn't have done it without your help," Lydia said, shaking the lawyer's hand. "It was my pleasure to help." "You deserve justice," Emily replied. News of the injustice Lydia and her family faced quickly spread through local media. Journalists and reporters began taking an interest in the case, and soon the story was being discussed on various TV and radio programs. Lydia and Lisa decided it was important to share their side of the story to raise awareness about racism and injustice still prevalent in society. One morning, Lydia received a call from a producer of a local TV show inviting the family for a live interview. After discussing it with Lisa, they decided to accept the offer. "I think it's important to share our story," Lisa said, holding Lydia's hand. "It might help other families going through similar situations." "I agree. We need to talk about this," Lydia replied, determined. On the day of the interview, the Parker family headed to the TV studio. Jasmine was nervous, but Lydia and Lisa reassured her. "It's going to be all right, sweetheart. We're just going to tell the truth," Lydia said, stroking Jasmine's hair. They were greeted by the show's host, a compassionate woman named Samantha Reed. She led them to the makeup room to prepare for the interview. "We're very grateful you accepted our invitation. We want to help share your story and raise awareness about these issues," Samantha said, smiling. "Thank you for giving us this opportunity," Lisa replied. The interview began with Samantha introducing the Parker family story, summarizing the events that had occurred at the mall and the police station. She then invited Lydia, Lisa, and Jasmine to join her on stage. "Lydia, Lisa, Jasmine, thank you for being here today. Lydia, could you tell us how it all started?" Samantha asked. "Of course, Samantha. It was Jasmine's birthday, and we decided to spend the day at the mall, shopping for a special gift for her. Everything was going well until we were verbally attacked by a group of teenagers in the bookstore," Lydia explained. Lisa continued, explaining how the situation escalated and how Lydia was unjustly arrested. "Lydia was just defending our daughter. It was a scary and unfair situation," Lisa said, holding Jasmine's hand. Jasmine, visibly emotional, spoke about how she felt during the incident. "I was really scared, but my mom protected me. She didn't do anything wrong," Jasmine said, with tears in her eyes. Samantha listened intently, showing empathy and understanding. "It's a truly moving story. What do you hope to achieve by sharing this with the public?" Samantha asked. "We hope to raise awareness about racism and the injustice that still exists. We want people to understand the importance of fighting against these issues and supporting each other," Lydia said firmly. "And we also want to thank everyone who helped us, especially our lawyer, Emily Clark. Without her, we wouldn't have gotten justice," Lisa added. The interview was received with great sympathy by the public. Many people sent messages of support and solidarity to the Parker family. The story also caught the attention of civil rights activists, who began mobilizing awareness campaigns and pushing for changes in local policies. After the interview, the Parker family felt a mix of relief and hope. They knew their journey wasn't over, but they were determined to keep fighting for a better future for Jasmine and other children who might face similar situations. Back home, Lydia and Lisa reflected on the impact of the media and the support they were receiving. "I think we did the right thing by sharing our story. People are supporting us, and that can make a difference," Lisa said. "I agree. We'll keep fighting, not just for us, but for everyone who faces injustice," Lydia replied, hugging Lisa and Jasmine. The Parker family was united and stronger than ever, ready to face the challenges ahead and determined to make a difference in their community. After the positive response to the interview and the relief of having overcome the legal case, the Parker family's life began to return to normal. Lydia returned to work, and Lisa dedicated even more time to Jasmine's emotional support, who was gradually regaining her confidence after the traumatic incident. During a family dinner a few weeks after the interview, they discussed the impact of what they had been through and how they could use their experience to create positive change. I think we should stay involved in causes against racism and for social justice. We could give talks at schools or support organizations that fight for these causes, Lisa suggested while serving dinner. I agree. Education and awareness are key to changing things, Lydia said thoughtfully. Jasmine, who had been quieter since the incident, looked at her parents with determination. I want to help too. I want people to know that racism is wrong and that everyone should be treated with respect, Jasmine said seriously. Lisa smiled, proud of her daughter. You're already making a difference, Jasmine. Your courage inspires us every day, she said, holding her hand. In the following days, Lydia and Lisa contacted some local schools to discuss the possibility of giving talks on diversity, inclusion, and combating racism. Meanwhile, Jasmine started getting involved in extracurricular activities that promoted equality and respect among students. One afternoon, Lydia received a call from a local school principal interested in scheduling a talk about social justice and civil rights for the high school students. That's great. Let's start there. The more people we can reach, the better, Lisa said excitedly. The following week, Lydia and Lisa prepared for the talk, gathering materials and discussing the main points they wanted to address with the students. Jasmine was equally enthusiastic, helping to put together the slides and prepare visual aids for the presentation. On the day of the talk, Lydia, Lisa, and Jasmine arrived at the school with high expectations. They were greeted by the principal and led to a classroom where the students were waiting. Hello, everyone. My name is Lydia Parker, and this is my wife, Lisa, and our daughter, Jasmine. We're here today to talk about a very important topic, social justice and civil rights. Lydia began with a serious and committed expression. During the talk, they shared their personal experience, emphasized the importance of respecting diversity, and encouraged the students to stand up against racism and other forms of discrimination. Jasmine also had the opportunity to speak about her perspective as a young African American. I know what it's like to feel scared because of the color of my skin, but I also know that we can make a difference if we unite and fight for a fairer world, Jasmine said firmly. The students listened attentively, asking questions and sharing their own experiences and concerns. By the end of the talk, many expressed gratitude for learning more about the impact of racism and what they could do to promote equality in their own lives. As they left the school, Lydia, Lisa, and Jasmine felt accomplished. I think we made a difference today. These students are motivated to create positive change, Lydia said, smiling at Lisa. I'm so proud of both of you. Jasmine, you were amazing in there, Lisa said, hugging her daughter. Jasmine smiled, feeling excited about what they had achieved together. We still have a lot of work ahead, but we're on the right track. Together, we can change the world, Jasmine said, looking at her parents with determination. After the school talk, Lydia, Lisa, and Jasmine received an invitation to attend a conference on civil rights and racial equality in the city. The conference would bring together activists, community leaders, and academics to discuss ways to promote inclusion and combat systemic racism. During one of the conference sessions, Lydia was invited to participate in a panel on criminal justice and the impact of racial bias on the judicial system. Lydia, thank you for sharing your story with us. Could you tell us a bit more about your experience and how it illustrates the challenges many face in our society today? Asked the panel moderator, a renowned civil rights attorney. Lydia felt honored to be there and to have the opportunity to speak directly about the injustice she had faced. Of course, what happened to me and my family was a clear example of how racial bias can distort justice. I was unjustly accused and arrested for trying to protect my daughter from a racist attack. It's a reality that many face every day, and we need to keep fighting for real change, Lydia responded sincerely. Lisa, sitting next to Jasmine in the audience, felt a mix of pride and sadness hearing Lydia speak so eloquently about their experiences. She's doing an amazing job up there, Lisa commented to Jasmine as they watched Lydia answer questions from the audience. Yes, she's helping many people by sharing our story, Jasmine responded, looking at her mother with admiration. After the panel, Lydia was approached by several people who wanted to thank her for her courage in sharing her story and inspiring them to get more actively involved in the fight for social justice. Meanwhile, Jasmine became more involved in extracurricular activities at school, including a student group that discussed issues of diversity and equality. She became a leader among her peers, encouraging them to educate themselves about racism and the importance of inclusion. One day, Jasmine came home excited with an idea she had during a group meeting. Mom, I was thinking, what if we created a program at school to teach students about social justice and civil rights? We could invite speakers, organize debates, and even do community projects, Jasmine suggested enthusiastically. Lydia and Lisa exchanged looks, impressed by Jasmine's initiative and determination. That's a great idea, Jasmine. It could really make a difference in our community, Lydia said proudly. I agree. We'll support you in whatever you need to make this a reality, Lisa said, smiling at their daughter. Jasmine began working hard to turn her idea into reality, seeking the support of teachers, principals, and other students. She presented a detailed plan for the creation of the program, which included workshops, cultural events, and community service projects focused on promoting equality and raising awareness about racial issues. As Jasmine dedicated herself to the new project, Lydia continued to be an active advocate for social justice, participating in marches, awareness events, and sharing her story whenever asked. A year after the incident at the mall, the Parker family looked back with gratitude for the support they had received and the progress they had made in the fight against racism. They knew there was still much to be done, but they were determined to continue their journey of advocacy and education, working together to create a fairer and more equal future for everyone.